I'm here at BGG.CON 2014 with Gil Hoover, who, with his recently published game, Battle Merchants.
Show the box cover. Here we go. There we go, Battle Merchants.
Right. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the game?
Certainly. So in Battle Merchants, there's 4 races at war. We have elves, orcs, dwarves, and hobgoblins. But as the player, you don't really care which race wins the war. You're just selling weapons. The richest player at the end of the game wins. So it's a game where obviously you're trying to make the most money by forging and selling weapons. And you can do this by selling a lot of cheap weapons, or you can specialize in a few really powerful weapons and try to win a lot of battles that way.
Excellent. And how many players is the game?
The game is it's for 2 to 4 players. The 2-player game is a bit of a variant. There's a couple of extra rules in order to make it work, but the 3 and 4-player games are sort of the core gameplay.
All right. And about how long does the game take to play?
It takes between 90 and 120 minutes based on how experienced the players are.
Okay. And on that note, would you say it's a light, medium, or heavy game? What kind of age range or what kind of gamer level would you say?
We're looking at between about a middle to heavyweight economic game. It plays quickly. It's actually a very fast-moving game, but there's a lot of juicy decisions in it. So it's definitely not a lightweight game, and I wouldn't even say it's just a plain middleweight. It's a little tiny heavier than middleweight. So as such, this is a gamer's game. This game is going to appeal to mainly Euro gamers who are tired of the same old building castle themes and who want a quick and juicy economic game, and actually has seemed to appeal to war gamers, who want something flavorful and thematic, but not your regular thing. It's got very interesting interaction between the players. It's not direct interaction, so Euro fans like me enjoy it, but it's not totally everybody doing their own thing, which war gamers and American fans don't seem to enjoy.
Excellent. Well, why don't you show us a little bit about how the game plays and what you can do in your turn and things like that?
Certainly. So the player board over here shows you the things you can do on your turn. There's a little action list that's right over there. One of the things you can do is you can improve your craft, and you start the game with 2 different craft that you can forge. There's 4 different kinds of weapons, so this player can forge hammers and maces at the start of the game. But the player may want to forge the other kinds of craft. The player may want to forge swords or axes. So we have these cards over here. These are called craft cards. And the player can actually add a craft card to their collection of craft. They'll just put it next to their craft board, kind of like that. And in this case, a player, in addition to making hammers and maces, can now forge swords as well. So the player will keep that on there, so that's one action the player can do, is to take a craft card. The player can also choose to take a craft card for something they already have craft in, and in this case they're taking this double mace card, this card with 2 mace icons, and this means their maces are now level 3 instead of just level 1, which is what they start with. So their maces are going to be a little more powerful as the game goes along. If the player ever reaches level 5, they can forge really powerful weapons, vorpal weapons as the game calls it. That's one of the things you can do, is you can upgrade craft. The only thing is this really fancy special craft costs money, whereas the simple craft is free to take. And money is the name of the game. You want to make money in the game. So another thing you can do is you can forge weapons. You can spend 5 coins to forge a standard weapon, but you have to have craft for it. Another thing you can place weapons out onto the board. So here I am placing this axe on the board, and obviously you have to have forged the weapon in a previous turn in order to place it. In this case, then you're going to take cubes. I've got this yellow cube on this axe, which shows that I've sold this axe to the dwarves, and I will get 6 coins. Now, let's say let me actually sell this axe to the orcs instead. Okay? So here the yellow player has sold an axe to the orcs. I don't know how easy this is to see, but there's a little axe space next to the orcs over here. These lines here correspond to the orcs. So player sold to the orcs over here, and the player's going to get money. And there's a little table over here that shows how much money a player gets on a sale. That's this thing right over here. And a player's going to get 6 coins. Costs 5 coins to forge a weapon, but 6 coins a player gets when a player sells a weapon. But you'll notice that a player has a little orc icon over here, and that means that the player gets 1 extra coin every time they sell to the orcs. So this player is actually getting 7 coins for the sale. Then over here, there's this area on the board. There's this yellow area that the player can pick up a new orc tile from, and that player will put it on their board. So now, the next time the player sells the orcs, they'll get 2 extra coins. And they'll keep that tile for the rest of the game, so as the game goes on, races will get more and more attractive to sell to as you sort of snowball and get better. So what happens is at some point later in the game, another player may decide to sell a weapon right across from his axe here. Maybe, can I get a purple cube, please, for example? Great. So maybe the purple player sells this hammer, and there are these tiles that are in between where you lay the weapons. So over here, this tile that is between the weapons now goes away because it's surrounded. It goes to this little spring area of the board, and the next tile flips. So that changes demand because these tiles that are face down all show a lock on them, and that shows you can't sell to them. So once you sell to both spaces, that unlocks the next space, and that changes demand on the board. Also, moving these chips is the timer for the game, because once 3 chips go into here, that ends the spring, and then these 2 weapons fight each other. And there's pretty simple rules that tell you which weapon wins, and one of these weapons will win, one of these weapons will lose, and this weapon that loses, you see there's a broken weapon and the number 1 on it. The player who won the battle is going to keep this as a trophy. The player who has the highest total on the numbers on the trophies at the end of the game gets 15 coins. Second highest gets 7 coins, and that's the way that works. So there's a little incentive to do well in battles. And then surviving weapons get 2 coins, kind of like a maintenance contract you have with the races. So there's some extra mechanisms that reward you for doing well in certain battles.
All right. Well, thanks very much for that overview.
Thank you so much, Phoebe.
Thanks.